Hello viewers, welcome back to my channel, Second Matter, the solution to your math problems. So we have question 2 here, and for question 2 we are to represent the following 3 figure bearings. 3 figure bearings on a diagram. So now what then is the 3 figure bearing? So we said that for this episode we are going to look at 2 types of bearings. First of all, we look at we have already looked at compass bearing. We have already looked at the compass bearing. We said that the second type is called true or 3. So this is what we are going to look at. The second one is true or 3 figure bearing. You can choose to call it true bearing or the 3 figure bearing. So what then is this type of bearing? So now for the 3 figure bearing, it has some key characteristics that we should take note of. As the name suggests, in this kind of bearing, the bearing are written in 3 figures. So as you can see, you see how 60 degrees has been written. We included 0 so that the figures here will be 3, but the value here is still 60 degrees. We have 275 degrees, so that is the 3 figure bearing. The bearing is given in terms of 3 figures. That is why we call it 3 figure bearing. And again, in 3 figure bearing, also take note. So this is our compass. So definitely here will be our north. Let's take note. For 3 figure bearing or for true bearing, angles are read from the geographical north. So this is the geographical north. In what direction? In the clockwise direction. So in the clockwise direction. Clockwise direction here means in the direction of the clock. We know how the hands of the clock moves. It moves in this direction. That is why we call it clockwise direction. So take note. For the 3 figure bearing, also known as a true bearing, angles are measured from the geographical north in the clockwise direction. Angles are measured from the geographical north. That is starting from the geographical north in the clockwise direction. So that is how angles are measured using the 3 figure bearing or the true bearing. So with this information, let's quickly represent this 3 figure bearing on a diagram. So now, starting with the first one, we have to represent 60 degrees. So first of all, we have to draw our cardinal points. At this time, the emphasis is only on the geographical north. So the emphasis is on the geographical north. Now, you see that from the cardinal points, we have 4 different quadrants. Each quadrant measures 90 degrees. So it means that starting from the geographical north, when I move from the north to the east, I've covered 90 degrees. From the north to the south, I've covered 180 degrees. From the north to the west, that will give me 270 degrees. And again, from the north back to starting position, which is the north, that means that I've covered 360 degrees. So that's what we are going to do. So 60 degrees, how do we measure this? So we said that for the 3 figure bearing, angles are read from the geographical north in the clockwise direction. So in the clockwise direction, we have to measure 60 degrees. We know that the whole of this angle here measures 90 degrees. So 60 degrees 60 degrees will be somewhere. So we are done. That is 60 degrees using the 3-figure bearing. We are done with A. Can we try B? Let's also try B. Let's try B. Now B, we have to represent 275 degrees. So first of all, we need to draw our cardinal points. So this will be our north direction. We said that for the 3-figure bearing, the emphasis is on the geographical north. So this time it means that from the geographical north, we are moving in the clockwise direction. So we should measure 275 degrees from the geographical north in the clockwise direction. So how do we do that? So we know that from the north to the east, that should give us 90 degrees. From the north to the south, that should give us 180 degrees. We are still not up to 275. From the north up to the west, that should give us 270 degrees. So the question is, 270 degrees plus what angle should give me 275? So obviously that is 5 degrees. So it means that we have to measure 5 degrees. We have to measure 5 degrees from this particular quadrant. So how do we read this angle? This angle here will be read as, well, we said that angles are read from the geographical north in the clockwise direction. So how do we measure this? The total angle formed by this particular direction here. So we know that the whole of this will be 90 plus another 90, that is 180 plus the whole of this quadrant, 90, making 270 degrees plus the 5 degrees, and that will give us 275 degrees. That is for B. Now C, you have to represent 130 degrees. I hope you are giving it a try. So give it a try. So what is the first thing we must do? First thing we must do is to draw our cardinal points. So let's do that. So we have our cardinal points here. Let me enlarge it. Okay. So here will be our geographical north. So it means that from the geographical north, since this is a 3-figure bearing, from the geographical north, we have to measure 130 degrees in the clockwise direction. So from north to east, that should give us 90 degrees. So 90 degrees plus what angle should give me 130 degrees? So here we have to do some little calculation here. We know that from north to south, that will be 180 degrees. But we are looking for 130 degrees. So it means that 130 degrees will be located in this quadrant. So how do we do that? So from 90 degrees plus what angle should give us 130 degrees? So obviously that should be 40 degrees. 40 degrees. So we have to measure 40 degrees. So we have to measure 40 degrees. So how then do we read this particular bearing? We said that for the 3-figure bearing, angles are read from the geographical north in the clockwise direction. clockwise direction. So the total of this angle here will be 90 degrees plus this 40 degrees, and that should give us 130 degrees. So that is for the C. Now the last one, the last example. This one, you are doing it on your own. Give it a try. There's no harm in trying. So represent 210 degrees. You have to represent 210 degrees using the true bearing or a 3-figure bearing. So what is the first step? So the first step here is to draw our compass. We have to draw our compass. So that is our compass. And the emphasis is on the geographical north. Emphasis on the geographical north. So now, starting from the geographical north to the east, that means that we have to cover 90 degrees. From the geographical north to the south, that should give us 180 degrees. And then we know that from the geographical north to the west, that should be 270 degrees. So meaning that 210 degrees will be in this quadrant, will be in this particular quadrant. So now, one here is 180 degrees. So 180 degrees plus what angle should give me 210 degrees? 180 degrees plus what angle should give me 210 degrees? I hope you are doing your calculation. So you see that 180 degrees plus 30 degrees, 180 degrees plus 30 degrees should give me 210 degrees. So the angle here should measure 30 degrees. 30 degrees. So how do I read the whole of this angle? Again, we said that for the 3-figure bearing, angles are read from the geographical north in the clockwise direction. So that is what we have done. So the total of this bearing here is 90 degrees plus 90 degrees plus the 30 degrees, and that should give us 210 degrees. Thanks for watching. See you next time.